Hey guys, Machines and Mal here. Just thought I want to show you real quick this tractor that I'm working on. It's a new year, it's 2020, and this is kind of the first job of the year. Actually, this job's left over from last year. I kind of lapsed on it and let it sit in the shop because it's been cold and the customer hasn't been bugging to get it back. But I decided this afternoon that I better get started on it, and I just tore the engine apart right there. I'm just going to explain real quick what's going on. If you've got one of these types of machines, you might have a similar problem one day. This will help you diagnose it. So what this is, it's John Deere, I think it's a 110. L110 or maybe an L120. It's one of the cheaper models that you can buy. I believe that came from Home Depot. They sell them. Anyway, this one has the Briggs and Stratton single cylinder engine, 16 horse. I'm not even sure. But anyways, the customer called and was complaining that it was really hard to start. He said it acted like it had a dead battery. He would crank it and it would load up on the compression stroke, and then the compression was too much for the the starter to overcome, and it would jam, and you would have to turn the engine with your hand to get it to spin to start up. So he went and bought a new battery, and that didn't fix the problem. So he was really stumped. Now, guys, usually when you get this sort of a problem, the first thing you want to kind of consider is valve lash. So these engines, these overhead valve engines, underneath, actually maybe I can take it off and show you, underneath of these valve covers there's a pair of valves. There's an intake valve and an exhaust valve. And so anyway, they need to be adjusted properly. They're adjustable. They're not hydraulic tappets like you might find on different style engine. I believe Kohlers are hydraulics. Anyway, these old Briggs and Stratton ones are adjustable, and they need to be adjusted with a specific clearance. The majority of these engines use 0.004 to 0.006 adjustment clearance. Usually 0.005 is enough, but you should double check with your manual or online to make sure that you got the right value for your motor. There, I can show you like that. So anyway, what you got here is you got a one valve. This is your exhaust valve. The engine's upside down, guys. I've already pulled the cover off. I flipped it over and put it on my work table. But here's your exhaust valve, and here's your intake valve. So these are adjustable. You unlock the little lock nut in the end with, I believe, a Torx or an Allen key, and then you turn or loosen this outer nut, and what it does is it pushes down on these valves. This one's all loose because I've actually got the cam out, which is why the camshaft out, which is why I started filming, because I wanted to show you what was wrong with this. But anyway, so if the cam was in there and the right pressure was on this push rod, you'd be able to adjust the clearance over here in between this tappet and this arm with a feeler gauge. There's a procedure to that. If you look back at my videos at the steel 4-mix valve adjustment, it's very similar to that. Different values, different tools, but the same idea. But anyway, so we checked the valve clearances on this, and they were fine. I think they were 0.006, which is close enough. It should have worked, but it didn't. So the next thing you got to do, particularly on these old Briggs and Stratton engines, is what happens is the camshaft. That's the old camshaft, which sits right there. There's a tappet. There's a tappet. There's your gear. This camshaft sits down inside like that. You have to time it. There's markings on it to time it properly. If you guys want to see a video, like a proper how to do this video, please leave a message in the comments, and the next one I do, I'll break it down bit by bit so it's really straightforward and easy. This is just a real quick show of what the problem is with this and how I fix it. So anyway, you pull the cam out, and this camshaft is supposed to have a mechanism right there. I don't know if you can see that clip, but there's a little clip right there. And so what's happened is there's actually a spring-loaded arm that's supposed to be on that cam that is broken off, and it's down inside that engine. Usually this happens when you shut this motor off at full tilt. So if you're mowing and you get up off the seat and the motor shuts down for safety, or if you just simply turn the key off while mowing with the blades engaged and the engine at full RPM, what'll happen is the air fuel, enough of it will get into the engine, and as it's slowing down, it will combust once more, creating a backfire, and that'll snap off this arm. So this is a new cam that I've ordered from Briggs and Stratton. You can actually see that arm on there, right there. And so basically that piece is what is broken off of this camshaft. And what this does, guys, is when this engine is in the off position, this arm is in this position, and what it does is it bumps the exhaust valve when you start the motor, so it decompresses the engine automatically, kind of like a Honda XR or XL series bikes. They have a similar thing on their camshaft that when you depress the Kickstarter, this little arm pushes on the exhaust valve. It just gives it a little blip, and it causes the engine compression to drop so that the starter motor can crank the engine and start it. But anyway, what happens is when this starts spinning, when this begins to spin and the engine starts, this actually spins out of the way like that, and it doesn't touch the exhaust valve anymore until you shut the motor down. It comes back in like that, and it's prepared to start the engine again. So that's what's happened here, guys, is it's snapped off of this camshaft. I've done this repair dozens of times. It's very common on these particular engines. It's really good to educate your customer. I might show him this video actually, and then we'll have an idea of why it broke, and giving him a bill for a couple $100 labor and parts to do this job will probably make sure he shuts it down properly in the future. What you got to do when you pull this out is you got to go down inside there, and you got to find those pieces. There's going to be an arm, guys, an arm probably in 1 or 2 pieces, and there's going to be a spring. You can see that spring right there underneath. That stuff is inside this engine, usually down inside that oil pit. The proper way to do it is to turn this over and dump it out. You can use a magnet if you get all the pieces. Just make sure you put it back together to make sure you've got all the pieces, because you don't want a chunk of that metal flying around inside that engine when it's running, because that'll just cause it to destruct. So I just want to show you real quick, that's the problem with this particular engine. I'm going to try to put model number series in the description of this video, so that if you're looking up your model number with a similar problem, you'll be able to find the video. But yeah, like I said before, leave me a message down below in the comments if you want to see this repair from start to finish. I'll set this camera up in the shop and do an actual nice, maybe like a 2 or 3 part video of how to remove this engine, how to open it up, take the part out, find the bits, reinstall the part, put the engine back together, and reinstall it onto the machine. If not, hopefully this video works out, helps you fix a problem that's driving you crazy, because I know the first time that I had this problem, it wasted probably an entire weekend before I figured out what the problem was. After that, it's become all too common with this particular motor. Anyways, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned for some more videos coming. Our mowing season is just a couple months away. Thanks for watching.